I'm Ben Schott. I'm in the American bar of the Savoy in London, one of London's finest bars, and I'm here to talk about Jeeves and the King of Clubs, a new Jeeves and Wooster novel, which I've written. Jeeves and the King of Clubs is a brand new Jeeves and Wooster novel using the comic characters Jeeves and Wooster created by the master P.G. Wodehouse. And it takes these much-loved characters and gives a slight twist to them in that Bertie Wooster accidentally becomes a British spy. The book came about because just before the last American election, Donald Trump's butler made the very bold statement that President Obama should be assassinated, which is a federal crime to call for the assassination of a president. And this was investigated by the Secret Service. But the idea of a butler calling for the assassination of a president begged the key question, what would Jeeves think? So I began to think about what Jeeves would think about this and how he would react. So I wrote a little story about when Bertie and Jeeves meet Trump and Trump's butler. And this story I wrote, and it became a short story that The Spectator then ran. And people seemed to not hate it, which was a tremendous surprise. And I got quite positive feedback from people who know a little bit about this subject. And so I carried on writing. And I wanted to write a book that used these characters, but I couldn't have young Bertie, because young Bertie is problematic. Because if he's young Bertie, then why would he be smoking and drinking, and why would he have a butler? And he couldn't be modern-day Bertie, because you would hate modern-day Bertie, because the kind of guy who has a butler now, well, not necessarily as charming as it was back in the 30s. So I wanted to have something set in the same period, but was different, that took the story somewhere else, which is why the idea of Bertie becoming a spy seemed like the obvious way to take the characters but do something different and strange with them. So when the Wodehouse estate graciously said that I could borrow the crown jewels of the Wodehouse characters, Jeeves, Wooster, Aunt Dahlia, Anatole, it's an unalloyed honor and pleasure to be able to use these characters, which are some of the finest creations, and to wander through the sunlit uplands of Brinkley Court and 3A Berkeley Mansions and meet Anatole and Aunt Dahlia and Uncle Tom. It's just glorious. So it's the generosity of the estate, and it's an incredible honor and a rather terrifying one. So writing in the voice of Wodehouse character is such a pleasure, because each of the characters has such a distinct voice. And so being able to write like Bertie, being able to write like Jeeves, being able to write like Aunt Dahlia, each of these characters, you just hear them in your head. And part of it is the rhythm and hearing. And when I write, I read everything I write out loud over and over again, especially this, because there's a cadence. And you say, well, would Jeeves say that? There's too many syllables, or there's not enough syllables for Jeeves and maybe too many syllables for Bertie. So there's a real question of getting the balance right. So each character has their own individual style of voice. I mean, Aunt Dahlia seems always to be shouting, exasperatedly. Jeeves always seems to be murmuring gently. So there's a wonderful cadence that exists in the characters. And the trick really is to not drop the ball, to keep it going. So when you read it, it feels incredibly normal and natural, even though you're bringing in new words for them to say and new scenarios for them to exist in. So the Junior Ganymede Club is Jeeves's club. People know about the Drones Club, which is Bertie's club, a club for layabouts and loafers and flâneurs like Bertie. But Jeeves is a member of a club called the Junior Ganymede, which is a club for butlers, valets, and gentlemen's personal gentlemen. And there is a difference. And what we discover in this book is that the Junior Ganymede Club is, and always has been, part of the British Intelligence Service. And it was set up in 1780 by the Earl of Winchester, then Foreign Secretary, in order to provide intelligence to the British government, which is the kind of thing that only butlers can hear while they're waiting at table or on the grouse moors. So it was a conduit of intelligence from the senior echelons of domestic service straight to the Cabinet Office and to the Prime Minister.